Hello children, we are again back to our biology class. So today I was already doing respiration with you, respiration in plants. So today also it will be a continuation of the same chapter, that is chapter 9, respiration in plants. Last class I have discussed how respiration takes place through different parts of the plant. So now we are in a position where we know about these two important biochemical processes that occurs in plant. One is respiration and the other one is photosynthesis. So we are also in a position to make a differentiation between the two. So let's just take a look. Now children, in animals this process of exchange of gas occurs in one step. That means oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out in case of animals. But in case of plant, this gaseous exchange occurs in two steps. One process is this respiration and the other one is photosynthesis. In photosynthesis what happens, as you can see from this chemical equation, here in this process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is taken in by the plant and oxygen is given out as a byproduct. Whereas in the process of respiration, oxygen is taken in by the plant and carbon dioxide is given out. So here you see the gaseous exchange occurs in two steps. So definitely there should be some more details and difference between the two processes. Let's find out. Now children, photosynthesis, as you know, it is the process by which autotrophs, that means plants having the green colored pigment called chlorophyll, those plants prepare their own food by taking up carbon dioxide and water from the atmosphere, and by the process, in this process, what food is produced in the form of glucose or carbohydrate and oxygen is released out to the atmosphere. So since this process occurs only during the presence of sunlight, the two most important thing necessary is sunlight and chlorophyll. So this process occurs only during the daytime. Okay, whereas respiration is a process which takes place it is a process in which oxygen is taken up for oxidation of the produced glucose. This glucose is oxidized in presence of oxygen, and in the process carbon dioxide and water is released as byproducts, and at the same time some amount of energy is also released. So this process does not need any sunlight or like that. So this process continues throughout the day and night. So this process goes on day and night, and photosynthesis occurs only during the daytime. So one more thing that I will help you to understand through a schematic diagram. Like this carbon dioxide, this oxygen that is produced during the process of photosynthesis in the daytime, it is used up by a part of it or a whole of it is used up by the plant to carry out respiration, like as you can see, to carry out respiration during the daytime. Okay, but in the same way, during respiration which occurs during the daytime, the carbon dioxide that is produced, that is again used up by the plant to carry out photosynthesis during day. Okay, here the oxygen is used up, so here this oxygen that is produced, it is used up by the plant during the day, and here the carbon dioxide that is produced by the respiration process, that is again partly or wholly used up by photosynthesis to carry out the process. This happens, utilization occurs only during day, but at night what happens, when photosynthesis has stopped but respiration is going on, then the carbon dioxide that is produced, that becomes surplus. It is not anymore used up by the plant right at that time. So what happens, that carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. Now one more thing, photosynthesis, as we know, it takes place within chloroplast, that is a body or an organelle that is present in green leaves and stems, and the process also is carried out in this chloroplast, which contains the green colored pigment known as the chlorophyll. But this respiration, it occurs within the mitochondria, which is present within the cell. So mitochondria of all cell of plants carry out respiration. Then one more thing, in photosynthesis, what happens here, carbon dioxide and water is used up to produce carbohydrate, and sorry, in this process this process actually captures the energy from the sunlight, and that is stored in the sugar, that is in the food of the plant. Whereas in respiration, what happens, the energy that is stored within the sugar, that is released in this process, and that energy is stored in, again it is stored in the mitochondria within a body known as ATP. It is stored there in the form of ATP. Okay, so these are the few basic main differences between photosynthesis and respiration. I will show you one schematic diagram which is very important. You should remember that schematic diagram, for that will help you to understand the utilization or the dependence of photosynthesis and respiration. And these points, the difference between respiration and photosynthesis, is very important. That is already tabulated in the book in page 74. So go through it very well. So let's come to the schematic diagram. Now children, we are going to discuss about the schematic diagram that is given in page 73. This is given in page 73. It is 6.6, figure 6.6. This figure is very important, and this process also, and you should, I'm going to give you the explanation of this schematic diagram. Know about this diagram and also learn the explanation very properly. Okay, so in this schematic diagram, it shows how it shows about the interdependence of the process of photosynthesis and respiration. We know though these two biochemical processes are completely different and almost opposite to each other, but somehow they are also dependent. So I will show you how this is dependent. So this is the picture. This figure shows the chloroplast, where green colored pigment called chlorophyll is present within its thylakoids. This you have already come across in the chapter photosynthesis, right? So this is the chloroplast, and this is the mitochondria that is present in each cell of plant. Now this is the place, mitochondria, where respiration takes place, and in chloroplast photosynthesis occurs. Photosynthesis in presence of sunlight, that means by trapping the light energy from sun. Here, during this process of photosynthesis, carbohydrate and oxygen is released as byproducts. This carbohydrate is an energy rich substance, right? Now when this is released, this process, I am talking about this process only during the daytime, right? Now this energy release substance is released, and oxygen that is released as a byproduct of photosynthesis, that is used up by this mitochondria, that is used up in the mitochondria during the respiration for oxidation of the stored glucose that is already priorly stored in plant. Now a part of it, or a whole of this gas that is produced, this is used up by mitochondria. Again, in the daytime only, when respiration occurs by the oxidation of glucose, carbon dioxide, and as you can see here, by the oxidation of glucose, carbon dioxide and water is released and energy is also released. So this carbon dioxide and water that is released, the energy is stored in the form of ATP. That is okay. But since it is stored, this energy poor substance, that means carbon dioxide and water, this part, carbon dioxide, is again used up by the chloroplast to carry out the process of photosynthesis. So this is what this schematic diagram explains, how oxygen of photosynthesis is used up by respiration, and again the carbon dioxide that is produced during respiration, how it is used up by the process of photosynthesis during the daytime. At night, what happens? This process stops completely since there is no presence of sunlight, right? But the respiration, it carries on throughout day and night. So then this part stops, this part is omitted, but at night the release of carbon dioxide carries on. But since it is not, it can't be used up by the plant at that time, so it gets surplus. So this carbon dioxide is then released into the atmosphere. Fine. So this schematic diagram is very, very important, and you should also understand the explanation of this part and write it down on your own. This may very easily come in exam. So in your book, page 74, tabulation is done where photosynthesis and respiration, all the points are jotted down, how to differentiate between the two. The next part, that is activity 1, and the difference between respiration in plants and animals, that we can again discuss in a next class. Thank you.